the Mademoiselle, and ça c'est deuxième Chanel. Welcome to another installment of 12 Days of Halloween. And yeah, that's not supposed to happen. Today, we're gonna be talking about the Grim Reaper. Now, to be honest, I've always been fascinated about the Grim Reaper, but never got around to making a video about it. So mark your calendars as I will be dropping my first ever Haitian American single, I Needed Love, M'te V'lu L'amour, on Black Friday, all right? So can't wait for you guys to hear it. Of course, if you're on Patreon, you will definitely be hearing it way before anyone else. And of course, you do get exclusive uploads, early access, your own Discord, and so much more. Shout outs to everybody that's already joined the Patreon. I love y'all the long way. And of course, if you haven't got your merchandise, go get your merchandise. I don't understand what y'all waiting for. Everything you need is linked down below. I've been working so hard on the merch. Please go get your merch. Thank you so very much. Merci en pile. In ancient Greek mythology and religion, the bearded and winged young man, Thanatos, the god of death, accompanied the souls of the departed to the underworld. In Norse mythology, Valkyries served as Odin's messengers and escorts of warriors' souls who died in battle. They transported the souls to Odin's hall, where they would be warriors in the afterlife to fight in the battles of Ragnarok. In Judaism and Christianity, archangels Michael and Gabriel are among the known angels of death. They are known for carrying messages to mortals. The Islamic angel of death, Azrael, is depicted recording a ledger of every soul in the world. In Hindu text, Yama is the god of death who rides on a black buffalo carrying a rope of soul. In Chinese mythology, Yanulu is the god of the underworld or hell. It is believed that the concept of the Grim Reaper began to proliferate in the 14th century in Europe. It was the time when the Black Death caused by a pandemic plague killed 30 to 60% of Europe's population. In the Bible's revelations, 4 horsemen, namely pestilence, war, famine, and death, appear in the calamities signaling the end of the world. Now, to be honest, I'm not even gonna lie. When I was a child, I thought the Grim Reaper, like many things I talk about on this channel, did not exist. Okay, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, the bullshit under the bed just doesn't exist. But apparently, like a lot of things that we've discussed on this channel, from gnomes to fairies and witches and all of that, they actually genuinely do exist in real life. And today we gather here to discuss the Grim Reaper. Now, one of the first occurrences of me ever seeing or thinking about the Grim Reaper actually existing was actually on Billy and Mandy, okay? I know a lot of us watched Cartoon Network and saw the Grim Reaper, okay? We saw Grim and we probably loved his character. He was absolutely hilarious. And I honestly never understood why they even implemented something as dark as the Grim Reaper on a kids TV show. I honestly thought it was always innocent. But then I kind of watched it a little bit as I got older and I was like, there must be some truth to this character in a way, just like a couple of other shows, you know, like Danny Phantom, right? I would watch that show and be like, okay, there must be some truth to this. There's a couple things that like you go back and you watch as an adult and you're like, there has to be some sort of something to this, right? So when it comes to the Grim Reaper, right, there's been a lot of people that have had near-death experiences and have came face to face with the Grim Reaper. So if you happen to be one of those people, comment down below because I'd love to hear your stories about it. Personally, thank God I've never had any type of experience like that, okay? I got time for it. If I see anything like that, I'd be terrified because the Grim Reaper actually is depicted just like a lot of people have said he is, just like you guys see in the pictures, a sack of bones in a black cloak. He does not come off very pleasant, and most of the time if you do see him, he has come to take your soul, okay, or come to show you what your life will look like if you do not turn your life around, okay? He is essentially the gatekeeper of death, the gatekeeper of the crossroads. Depending on what it is that you practice, what your life is like, there's a lot of different variants of what it is that would prompt you to see the Grim Reaper, but essentially he is a psychopump, right? He's essentially tasked with guiding the souls of the afterlife. So if you are having a near-death experience or you've died and you come back to life, more than likely you have seen the Grim Reaper. Now, throughout history, there have been different depictions of the Grim Reaper. There have been different accounts, from the Grim Reaper looking like a raven, to the Grim Reaper looking like a sack of bones, like I said, to the Grim Reaper looking like an animal, like a freaking cheetah. Like I've seen and heard so many different things. Now, the first appearance of like a Grim Reaper type of situation has dated back to about the 14th century. During the event, which I know you guys are gonna guess it, the bubonic plague, the Black Death. Now, when it comes to the Black Death, that situation changed the lives of at least 25 million people and stands as one of the most life-changing events in human history. And that is said to be one of the first times anyone ever even heard of a Grim Reaper. And this is where the whole situation of even the whole Grim Reaper-esque image comes from. A lot of people claim that they saw a skeletal, didn't I say it right the first time? A skeletal figure walking around just claiming lives, okay, with a medieval weapon. And personally, I'm not even gonna lie, we have to think about it, right? 14th century, people were a little imaginative, okay? We have to think about a lot of the literature from back then, and a lot of the fact that people was taking opium and all of that. A lot of it was drugged up a lot of the time, but I'm not gonna say they was lying, but a lot of it was very imaginative, okay? Back then, they was doing a lot of stuff, okay? So, I mean, okay, I hate to say it, but it's true, okay? They were doing a lot of interesting things back then. We gotta remember. But let's just say, for the sake that they weren't being imaginative, right? So, essentially, a lot of people said that they saw this Grim Reaper and this man, creature, whatever, was just walking up to them and just able to look at them and take their lives in a snap. It really shaped these people's lives. It got them so shook and so scared out their minds to the point where these people legit like started changing their lives. I'm talking about people were mass converting. People started to like take the skulls as symbolism, because again, like I said, it was a skeletal figure, so people started to use the skulls as symbolism. Like, y'all, the Grim Reaper done changed these people's lives, okay? At that point, you know, death had reshaped their lives in a way. You know, they were sitting there like, you know, we can't live our lives the way we used to. You know, we gotta start living like tomorrow's the last day. They was on some YOLO shit at that point, which does explain a lot of how these people were living. You know, the mass destruction, you know, then, you know, after, you know, a couple centuries later, you know, you had the Victorian era where everybody was just fucking and sucking. Anyways, you guys get the point, okay? The Grim Reaper really did change a lot, because it was like a lot of them were just doing a lot of offhand shit. So between 1665 and 1666, it was morbid, okay? There were lots of corpses just all over the place because the Black Death situation, and you know, the Grim Reaper was out here just claiming lives and killing people in an instant by just looking at them and doing whatever he was doing. So when it came to a lot of the art and the literature of the time, it was just very, very dark. So of course there were not only just a lot of skulls that were out there depicting a lot of what was going on, but a lot of the art and the literature was depicting that as well. And of course you had the Black Cloak. Okay, Black in general is always associated with grief, death, darkness, and the unknown. So to be honest, it makes me wonder, and this is something that's also been thought about in terms of just the whole situation in itself within the Grim Reaper. There's been thoughts that maybe it was just all in their head and there was never a Grim Reaper. Was there ever a Grim Reaper, or was it just something that they thought about? Was there ever a Grim Reaper, or was it just hallucination? Was it just something that, I don't know. But then I'm just like, if they all died, where did the thought of the Grim Reaper come? Let me just shut the fuck up before the Grim Reaper just come in my fucking dreams and Chad, let me shut the fuck up. But I'm just saying, it's very interesting, because if they didn't live to tell us that the Grim Reaper existed, hell, let me shut my ass up, okay? Let's move on. Then, of course, you have the scythe, the scythe, the metal thing. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The thing, yeah, that. Now, the Grim Reaper has all types of weapons, okay? But usually the scythe, I think that's how you say it, is the main one, but there's arrows, there's all types of weapons, crossbows, child, it could be anything, and that's usually whatever it is that he used to strike his victim down in an instant. And essentially it represents the harvest of souls into the afterlife. And then of course you have the hourglass. And the hourglass is basically something that the Grim Reaper holds to let us know that our days are numbered. And it's interesting, right? There have been accounts of people that have come in contact with the Grim Reaper, and if they make it back, which, okay, now I'm thinking about it, that was a dumb question that I said earlier. Okay, so basically the logic here is, okay, some people have seen him and made it back some way, somehow. So I guess it's one of those wake the fuck up, bitch, or you're gonna die because your days are numbered. Okay, so anyways, the logic here would be, you know, your days are numbered, so live them like they're your last. Essentially, the Grim Reaper is the personification of death, okay? It's supposed to teach us that no one's days are permanent, that your days are numbered. You live your days to the fullest. And I think the main reason he might have started showing up in the 14th century is because we have to be for real. The 1500s, the 1600s were fucking morbid, okay? Like, they was doing all types of crazy shit, especially in Europe, in Asia back then. Like, if we really think about it, that was the time they was out here ripping people's empires, sitting here doing all this damn crusader shit, trying to get people to, you know, bow down to different empires and bow down to their gods and lords and saviors, or they were gonna cut their heads off and shit. Damn, it's no wonder y'all were fucking dropping dead and shit. I mean, I'm not saying y'all deserved it, but damn, like, y'all were being not so good humans back then. So, I mean, it's no shit that y'all were being greeted by some creepy, scary creature that looked like that. I wouldn't be shocked if the Grim Reaper started pulling up right now. We ain't so good of humans. Don't come to me though, I try my best. Like, you know, but shit, none of us are perfect. I'm just saying, like, you know, I feel like the Grim Reaper is supposed to be a rude awakening. It's one of those things that I feel like God, or, you know, the supreme being just sends to people when it's like, wake the fuck up. Y'all are wasting y'all time doing a bunch of bullshit. When you think about it, the Black Death in itself was pretty brutal. Like 25 million people were affected by that, right? Like, that's a huge population of people just to be affected. And then, you know, people out here outside of that are just out here being seen or having seen this Grim Reaper-esque type of creature, and they just out here being struck down by a synth. You know, it's just like, sounds like karma to me. But hey, what do I know? So what's even more interesting about the whole Grim Reaper situation is that it's not even just the Grim Reaper, right? So in other cultures, there are different variations of this. When it comes to Hinduism, they have the god of death called Yama. Ancient Egypt has Anubis. Norse mythology has Hel, goddess of the underworld. Mexican culture has La Catrina. Japanese culture has Shinigami. Like, literally, almost every culture has a very similar god of death or deity of the underworld or something similar that looks like a skeletal figure that comes in and teaches you a fucking lesson about how your days are numbered to stop being a bitch. So it's just like, I don't think it was just the Europeans and the Asians that was getting greeted by the god of death, the Grim Reaper. I feel like, in a general sense, the Grim Reaper is associated with anxiety, right? I think it's associated with fear, and it's just a brutal reminder that you need to watch out and live your life to the fullest. You need to be careful how you treat people, how you treat yourself, and most importantly, how you treat your day. Okay, are you going to live like today is just a day, or are you gonna live today like it's your last? Because I feel like a lot of people take life for granted, and I feel like that's the reminder of the Grim Reaper and all of these other, you know, cycle pumps and stuff like that. Like, I feel like when people see them, they get so terrified because they get reminded, like, oh shit, I'm just immortal. And I think that's what it is. It just reminds you, like, yo, you're human, you're mortal. So stop being stupid. So to be honest with you, I ain't trying to see that shit, probably because that shit is kind of terrifying. But I feel like it's needed in many cases, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting visited by these shits again. I ain't got time for it, so we all need to get it together, guys. And I would love to know if any of you guys have ever had a visit from any of these situations, because I feel bad for your ass. With that being said, let me know what you guys think about this video down below. Have you been visited by any of these psycho pumps? And most importantly, what happened? Did they say anything to you? Were you in a near-death experience? Because, child, I deeply apologize, because I don't have time for that. With that being said, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, do all that, and I'm gonna see y'all next time. Bye!